Hello and a warm welcome to the Time Center for the CAT 2025 analysis. Right now we are in the midst of analyzing the slot 2, which is the second slot paper. I'll take you through this primer introduction on what all types of activities we have in store for you and how you can best utilize the services to get reactions, understandings, expert analysis, details about cutoff, and many more. So as usual, in the short run, which is beyond today, when the CAT candidate response sheet will be released, you will be in a position to upload that response sheet into our percentile predictor and score calculator. So you'll be able to get an exact idea of the slot wise answer key matching, because the candidate response sheet will include that, and then you will get a score also. For that particular score, given the comparison that by that particular point of time, which is couple of days from now, we would have about slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, all one of them, we will be able to then also tell you about your percentile, both sectional as well as total percentile. And given this situation, the most important output that you would be looking for would be the call predictor. Not only the IIMs, but also maybe some of the allied colleges, depending on the historical data and cutoffs. At time, we have many decades of expertise in tracking thousands and thousands. In fact, it goes into several lakhs of students cumulatively by now, where we have the ability to look at how their percentiles correlated with different category of IIM or non-IIM institutions, GDPI interview call lists, and will be in a position, along with some of the inputs on your profile, because some colleges do look at this academic or work wise, and will be able to tell you how likely you are to get that call. This would be a very important tool for you, coming to you in a few days time from now, because for entering these data, you would need the candidate response sheet, which the IIM authorities would release on your CAT website login, through which you recently downloaded your admit cards. And once you get that in about 4 or 5 days time from now, you'll be able to make the best possible use of these services that will be available on the Time portal. What do we have available for you right now? Right now, we are going to give you a first cut analysis, which is the immediate reaction for the slot 2 examination, the afternoon slot CAT paper. We'll give you instant expert analysis on the section and what were the broad top line recalls on difficulty levels, lengthiness, or any surprise factor, if at all in any. We would then follow it up with expert analysis from our senior faculty members across the 90 plus time centers in the country who have been tracking this examination in great detail. They would have first-hand knowledge, experience, interaction with students whom we train throughout the year across the country to be able to participate with our IIM Ahmedabad graduate senior moderator here in the studio. We'll be able to logging into the different cities and locations across the country and bring you a very detailed discussion in terms of difficulty levels and recollections of which RC passage and which DILR caselet and so on and so forth. So you as a candidate, if you have appeared in the slot 2, would be able to correlate it very quickly and easily with the recollection and the analysis that we are going to present to you right now. This will be followed up with a detailed analysis in terms of specific question examples, trickiness of the questions. So we are not going to just describe a particular DILR caselet, but we are going to look at the question also. We are not just going to discuss was arithmetic easy in maths and algebra a bit tricky or lengthy or calculation oriented in maths. We'll look at which algebra topic, which look at which arithmetic topic. So you'll get a very detailed analysis out there. So these are the things happening today, very short while from now. Now, this is a very new thing and a novelty idea. The first time in the industry right now, we are introducing something called a percentile estimator at time. So at time now, you are in a position right now to be able to estimate your percentile without having to wait for the candidate response sheet that I told you some minutes back, that the IIMs will release after the CAT period is over, and after 4 or 5 days, you will get that on student login on the CAT website without having to wait for that. That is the time when you will use the exact percentile predictor. But right now, given our several decades of expertise and our ability to understand the slot-wise analysis of every year's CAT examination, and I'll take you through some historical data so that you understand this very well before you get to the cutoff and detailed analysis in today's sessions and videos that we are presenting to you on YouTube, that we will be in a position to estimate your percentile within a very finite and a narrow percentile range, given your ability to recollect two things. There are two things that you need to recollect out here. One is, what is the exact number of attempts that you can recollect, and some of you might need to note it down immediately before a lot of chaos and a lot of talking with friends happens after the slot 2 got over. And second is, how many of them do you think were the correct answers? Once you just input these two parameters right now, just raw inputs on how many have I attempted in each section, VARC, DILR and the quant section, how many have I attempted, and in each section how many of them do I find will be going right. And once you do this, we'll be able to give you a very narrow band of likely percentile range. This comes from a lot of data analysis and slot wise analysis that we know in terms of the raw scores, how do they correlate with the scaled scores. Even without waiting for the slot 3 exam to happen, we have that expertise to be able to give you a range of percentile so that you are likely to stay focused and not go through any anxiety and palpitations right now because the examination has just been over. So make sure you use this. This is available on our website on the CAT analysis banner. You can straight away log in and immediately put this data. Now, for some specific updates on slot 2, as and when I am doing this primer video, if I do get some inputs from geographical locations across the country and student feedback, I'll be taking you through that particular part. As of now, just before we go to the first cut analysis, detailed analysis, and you try to make sense of the percentile estimator tool that I just now told you about that you can utilize almost immediately, it is important to understand a little bit of background about how the afternoon slot in the CAT has behaved in the last couple of years. So for a score of 85 percentile in a section, 95 percentile in a section, and 99 percentile in a section, what kind of raw scores did you need to get to that percentile in that section? So for example, right now I'm talking about the verbal ability and reading comprehension section, which is the English section, which is the first section in the CAT traditionally when you open the paper. So in the last couple of years, there have been fluctuations in the so-called raw score needed. What is a raw score? This is exactly what you calculate by marking yourself, by giving yourself into 3 for a right answer and an into -1 for a wrong answer. Theta questions exempted because there you will always get into 3 for right and 0 for a wrong. But otherwise you do into 3 into -1. So with this kind of a calculation, without looking at the normalization factor, in the afternoon slot, this is purely for afternoon slot, what was the raw score you needed to be able to get to 85 percentile, 95 percentile and 99 percentile, these 3 percentile ranges. So if you look at, for example, in the recent years, just 2 years ago, the CAT English section was not as easy as it was 4 years ago. So the level of trickiness of the questions in English, for example, it increased. So people had lower accuracies or lower attempts. And therefore, to get the English cutoff cleared, you needed in CAT 2023 a score of 19 marks for 85 percentile. Is approximately in the range of 6 to 7 questions right. If you get about close to 7 questions right out of 20 plus questions, then you could have gotten it accurately right, then that much equivalent score would have gotten you 85 percentile. But for a 99 percentile, you needed 36. That means you needed an attempt of 12 to 13 kind of a range with a high accuracy, or maybe 14 or 15 attempt with 1 or 2 questions going wrong. So you would have landed at a score of 36. Last year, what happened? So when you look at the data and analysis we are going to give you shortly, you're going to compare some of this data when we gone to compare whether it was marginally trickier, lengthier, lower number of attempts. So you will understand our percentile estimator much better because you have this historical background in your mind. So last year, from 22 for an 85 percentile to a 41 for a 99 percentile. Now 41 would mean you would need to get something like 14 questions correct worth of marks at least. And to clear the cutoff, you needed close to 7 questions or more correct in English. So that was the level of difficulty that is needed to be able to get to an 85 percentile at 22 last year, raw score in afternoon slot compared to this. We recently did on YouTube live in the morning session a similar analysis of the morning slot. If needed, you can see that. And if you like some database analysis and correlation activities that we are throwing at you, do subscribe to our channel and follow us for rest of the CAT journey, not just today, but even for the couple of weeks and many more months to come, even when the results are out, when the GDPR training will be out. This is for the verbal ability historical data. This is the slide where I'm going to show you the section with maximum amount of upheavals that has happened in the last couple of years for CAT. That is the DILR section, data interpretation and logical reasoning. So from a score of 37 needed for a 99 percentile and 20 needed for a 85 percentile. 85 percentile typically is a level where we clear the cutoff. So from a score of about 20, we fell down to a score of about 12. That is how difficult the CAT became 2 years ago. So 12 questions correctly done would broadly be equivalent to one caselet of 4 questions correctly done. If you just focus correctly on choosing one caselet and doing full justice to it, even though it consumed excessive time, you would have technically cleared the cutoff. This was 2 years ago, very high level of difficulty in DILR. And for a 99 percentile, you needed a score of 27 in DILR. So 27 would mean 2 caselets done. So if somebody used that 40 minutes sectional time limit on just focusing on 2 caselets without running after randomly maximizing and tracking his or her brains on all possible caselets and combinations, you could have still got a 99 percentile. But last year things changed as a welcome note for an aspirant like you, because the paper became much more doable and easier. Now when the paper becomes easier, it is not ultimately a great thrill for everybody. During the examination, you might have a better experience, but in terms of percentile requirements, the minimum score required goes up. And that's what exactly happened last year. In last year's DILA, the 85 percentile level was at 18 marks. So you needed to do close to 2 caselets correctly. So you will not be satisfied with the score getting 85 percentile. That's not going to happen if you do only one caselet. So you have to go to the second caselet. And for a 99 percentile, which is the so-called top of the level performance in DILR section last year, you needed 35 marks. So that means close to 12 questions correctly. 12 3s are 36. So you had to go to the third caselet to be attempted, because with 2 caselets of 4 questions and 4 questions each, you are not in a position to get 12 attempts, and that too correctly done. So that was the so-called marginal welcome ease. Candidates were happy, but the scoring needed to get to 85 percentile or eventually 99 percentile decidedly went up. Our analysis of DILR this year will be on the backdrop of something like this. And this is what the quant section performance has been in terms of, again, 85 percentile, the lowest line that you see behind me on this digital screen on blue, and then 95 percentile, which is the purple, and the orange orange line, which is for 99 percentile. So 85, 95, and 99. So couple of years ago, CAT 2021, that is what the slide shows. This was the number. These were the raw scores needed in quant. And recently, just like DILR, 2 years ago, quant also became extremely tricky and difficult. Not only was the logical challenge very high, but the questions which were doable also needed calculation and effort. And therefore, to get 85 percentile, you needed 11 raw score. 11 raw score is close to 4 questions attempted. So 20 plus questions are there in the quant section. But the CAT paper was so difficult that to get 85 percentile, you needed to locate 4 questions correctly and get them right, and you would get the 85 percentile. But to get 99 percentile, you need close to 25 marks. 25 marks would be close to 8 or 9 questions correctly done. That much worth of correct attempt would definitely make you reach 99 percentile. This is specific to afternoon slot paper. We're analyzing the raw scores of afternoon slot paper, just as many of you right now viewing us would have had. But last year, from CAT 23 to CAT 24, suddenly the level of difficulty became a bit lower, just like in DILR. But it was not as much lower as DILR, as you can see from this graphical movement. So for cutoff clearance, you needed 12 last year in quant. And for 99 percentile, you needed 32. So 85 percentile, 99 percentile. So this 12 would again mean close to 4 questions only. But this 32 now would mean 11 questions to be attempted correctly. So that kind of an attempt last year, the recent most in memory for most of you also, would have meant in quant. In total percentile, total score, this is where I am not showing an 85 percentile. If you look at the screen carefully, it is the 90 percentile, 95 percentile, and a 99 percentile. So for 90 percentile, what kind of score ranges did you need over the last 4 years CAT? What's the minimum that has been? Like you see this particular year, CAT 23, that has been one of the toughest papers in recent memory. And if you look at a higher scoring paper, then you would look at CAT 2021 in terms of the 4 years ago's paper where total score could go very, very high. So in total scores, you would need these kind of raw scores. Again, this is only for afternoon slot. Afternoon slot of CAT 2021, afternoon slot analysis of CAT 2022, 23 and 24. So with this kind of background in mind, when you see the next YouTube live session where we will do the preliminary analysis, then we will go to the faculty panel discussion, you will then be able to make more sense of the numbers and the attempts that the faculty members and experts will talk about. So this is important for you to keep in mind. Now, right now, if you're a slot 2 student who has just come out of the examination hall and trying to look at the internet sources, first thing is you stay calm. So the exam is over. There's nothing that you can think or brainstorm about that can change the performance that has already been logged into the workstation. So you stay calm. Second thing that you should do is you should record your attempts and how many of them are likely to be correct as per your inherent confidence as of now, because you are fresh with your memory. Make sure you make a note of it instead of then randomly forgetting and entering a wrong number later on. And then head on to the percentile estimator that we have on our website. Straight away input your number of attempts, number of likely corrects, and we'll be able to generate a percentile range. And then by the end of these series of videos that we are now starting for slot 2 analysis over the next 1.5 to 2 hours, you'll eventually get a very, very detailed analysis at the end of the chain of videos. Stay tuned and get the alert mode on the YouTube channel so that you get this input. Now, because these videos have yet not come from slot 2, we are collecting a lot of student bites and events. So during the course of this video or the subsequent videos, we'll bring you together to student reactions. Coming up next is the first cut analysis. This is where our, expert CAT coordinator, he's himself an IIM Ahmedabad graduate, will be talking about this particular detail, and he will be giving you the first cut analysis. Now, after the first cut analysis, what are the other things in store for you if you are a slot 2 CAT aspirant of today? You have attempted the paper, you just come out, you are listening to my schedule of activities and the priming data that I'm giving you. We'll talk about strategy inputs. What is it that we can learn, or what was recommended for a paper of a particular nature like you have just now experienced, and as our experts will then explain to you. So we'll discuss strategy. This might also be important for slot 3 aspirants. Some of you might be awaiting the slot 3 examination. So that strategy input might be useful just in case something similar happens in slot 3, just like we are analyzing for slot 2. We'll come out with cutoff predictions for each of the sections. That is what we will do. We'll have a panel discussion with faculty members, experts from around the country. That will be a very, very enriching session. Stay tuned for this. Then there will be a section-wise detailed analysis, question by question, topic by topic, and then overall analysis in terms of the overall report of the slot 2 paper. And by the time we are out with slot 2 paper, you can also compare it with all these details that we have already put on YouTube channel for slot 1. So while you have attempted slot 2, you can also immediately understand how the same experts talk about slot 1. So this gives you a very good bird's eye view of comparisons that can happen between the level of difficulty, number of attempts, the cutoffs estimated for slot 1 versus slot 2 for you. So that's about it for now. And very soon we'll be back with the preliminary first cut analysis. इसको इसमें लगा दें चार्जिंग में फिर से